Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. In the past, I had made an appeal to save Islamic manuscripts that are found on eBay. Our heritage, our Islamic heritage, is really being pillaged. It is not secure, it is not safe. And tonight I'm renewing this appeal for people to help me save manuscripts that are invaluable, found on eBay. And tonight I'm going to show you some of what I am talking about so you understand the scale of the problem and what needs to be done. So bear with me. Now, many of you might not realize that books of the Islamic heritage of the most valuable type are there for sale for anyone to do with them as they please. I'm going to give you examples. I'm not exactly computer savvy, but just bear with me, please. Okay, so here is an example of what you find on eBay. This is where did it go? Oh, here it is. Okay. This is a Dala'il al-Khayrat. Dala'il al-Khayrat was a book of dhikr and dua, and it is, as you can see, the manuscript is from Morocco. It is estimated to be 300 years old, this particular manuscript. Now, this has particular historical significance because in pre-modern times, travelers in the desert would buy these pouches, as you can see here, and the book, like Dala'il al-Khayrat, would be placed in this pouch and attached to the traveler. As the traveler is traveling through the desert on their camel, they would take the book out of the pouch and read as a form of dhikr and as a form of seeking comfort. Now, this particular copy of Dala'il al-Khayrat even has illustrations in red coloring. And you will notice it was being offered for $720. It says sold. And I'll be honest with you, it says sold because I bought it. Now, I have very limited private funds, but a copy of Dala'il al-Khayrat in this historical pouch, for that price, I just couldn't allow it to go. But let me show you other examples of what of our tradition is out there. Now look, this text, نور الأبصار في مناقب آل بيت النبي المختار, by Sayyid al-Shablanji. This is a very rare book. It was published at the beginning of the century and never reprinted again. And it was being sold at $85. It's not a manuscript, it's print, but nevertheless, it's a very rare printed text. I will show you some other example. This is an incredible document, nothing short of incredible. This text is an actual treatise written by none other than Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab himself, the founder of the Wahhabi movement. 3 manuscript letters by Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab in the late 18th century in his handwriting, and I authenticated it, that in fact it is in his handwriting. And it is being sold for $1,600. Something like this is a part of history. Literally, you are taking a page out of history. Going on, just to show you more of our tradition and what is happening to it. It's like yeah, I was just waiting for the screen to pull up. Okay. Now, if you look here with me, this is a very rare book by Ibn Taymiyyah that he wrote, فضل أهل البيت وحقوقهم لحقوق أهل البيت. But just, this is a manuscript that came from Uzbekistan on Sharia. It's on Shafi'i law. It is, of course, the complete work is lost, but a volume of the work, this particular chapter, is on Ahkam Qital Ahl al-Baghi. And this text came from Uzbekistan, which, as we know, Uzbekistan was a closed book for as long as the Soviet era lasted. But unfortunately now the Islamic tradition of Uzbekistan is being dissipated, or whoever wants to pillage it. Here is another book. They don't quite know what they have. They simply describe it as a fiqh handwritten book. But this is an important Hanafi text on Sharia. And it is unpublished. I have tried to find whether, in fact, this text on Hanafi law has ever been edited and published, and it doesn't appear to be. As they say that it is estimated to have been written in the 18th, 19th century. I think it is earlier than that. But just to continue on, here is an example of a very important book. This comes from Timbuktu. And this very clear, beautiful script, African script, is a text on Hanafi law from Timbuktu. Here is another text from Timbuktu again. As you can tell, it's quite old, and it is from the seller didn't show pages, so I couldn't look at the actual text But except for here, this is at the end of the text, not at the beginning. Now here, yeah. So you can tell from this text here that it is discussing issues of theology and questions of taklif, matters of obligations. It costs $750. Text from Timbuktu. Timbuktu used to have the most valuable Islamic library before the colonial age, and there used to be a tradition of protecting Islamic texts in Timbuktu. Here is another text. This is on Hanafi law. It's tragic because the beginning pages of this text are lost, and you pretty much have to investigate the entire text in order to know exactly what you have before you. Now, there are many other examples. If you see here, this is a text on black magic. And it is, like all these texts, it was actually used by practitioners. But like all these texts, it has marginalia and illustrations that are invaluable. These illustrations you see here are literally a part of history that is it speaks volumes. I mean, the amount of historical information you can tell from the types of illustrations, and you notice here the Star of David in the use of black magic in this text. The person who is selling this text is wearing black gloves because they believe that this text is dangerous, and they're wearing these types of gloves for protection from its influence, so to speak. And you can see here, there's marginalia. This marginalia is, no two marginalia are the same in any two manuscripts. And it costs $3,690. Now, of course, like all these texts, it's a mixture of spells and protection from spells. The examples are practically endless. So let me just, yeah. So immediately when you enter just Islamic manuscripts, you find right away, this is a manuscript, clear, amazing handwriting. It is clear that it is on Hanafi law. Oh, it's no, actually, wait, hold on. No, it's discussing matter of Arabic grammar and analysis of the Arabic language. It's being sold for, but again, marginalia is very important. That means it was used in classes, and these were marginalia notes added by either professors or students that as the text was being used in classes, is being sold for $950. Now, let me show you examples of things that are truly tragic. This is what happens to a lot of Islamic texts. Sellers find it far more profitable, instead of selling the manuscript as it is, to tear up the manuscript and sell it in separate pages, and thus destroying the historical document forever. So you can see here 3 pages that were torn from the manuscript being sold for $400. A lot of times when the manuscripts has illustrations, This is an antique, beautiful Quran. Look at this. Look at the care and the love that our ancestors put into copies of the Quran. Look, this is a piece of Islamic history being sold. It comes from Central Asia. I'm willing to bet it's from Uzbekistan. Yep, it is from Uzbekistan. And it's being sold for $5,800. This here is a manuscript that is mind-numbing. This is by Sadr al-Sharia Shirazi himself, the Shirazi himself. His text on Islamic law this text has not been edited or published, and it's right there, right here on eBay for $1,000. This marginalia, authentication of who owned the book, where did it go. Our ancestors used to care quite a bit about keeping track of books and who owned them and what library they're in and so on and so forth. But it is mind-numbing that a book by Sadr Sharia, Sadr al-Din al-Shirazi, is just there. Look at this copy of the Quran. Look at how gorgeous the illustrations, the love and care that our ancestors had for the Quran. $2,500. Look at this. Look at the unbelievable beauty and care. Every page is laid out in gold. And this beautiful copy of the Quran is $2,500. And let's see if it says where it came from. Sometimes they tell you where it comes from, sometimes they don't. I don't think this one. Now, here's another example of what happens to a lot of texts. This one, a page was torn out and is being sold separately. So the manuscript is forever gone because it has been now torn into pages. Each page is being sold for $145. Of course, the seller, who doesn't care at all about the historical value of the manuscript, is going to make much more money by selling it this way. This is a mind-blowing example. Look at the illustrations. This is a malhama. This is a book that narrates the legends about. Of course, it's wrongly described as a Quran. It has nothing. It's not a Quran. It's not nothing to do with being a Quran. But the legends that have to do with famous rulers in Persia and India, and the illustrations alone. Now, we are very fortunate that the seller has not torn up the illustrations and selling it page by page, and is actually offering it for $4,500 instead of breaking it into separate pages. Now, let me show you an example of how incredibly demolished our tradition is. These are coins, Islamic currency, that go back to the Umayyad period, the first 100 years of Islam. This coin, for instance, here being offered for $1,800, was minted by Sulaiman ibn Abdul Malik, the famous Umayyad Khalifa. And can you imagine how many hands handled this coin in Islamic history? Here's another coin. This now was minted by Hisham ibn Abdul Malik, again from the Umayyad period. So we're talking about the first 100 years of Islam. There are examples of coins that are, again, available on eBay. Coins like this, if they were from any other culture, would be in museums, would be preserved, studied, analyzed. This coin is from the era of Ibn Marwan, Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, first 100 years of Islam. A gold mine of historical information. Analyzing coinage is a whole very highly specialized field of study. Look at this. This coin here is from the era of Harun al-Rashid in Egypt. And this one is authenticated and actually means it was placed by, historically authenticated, to go back, in fact, to the period of Harun al-Rashid, the famous Abbasid caliph. This coin from the era of al-Mansur, again, Abbasid caliph. This is like literally Islamic history. Look at this. This is a coin from the Walid ibn Abdul Malik. It's very significant because it shows the influence of both Islam and the Roman financial system, because at that time Muslims had not minted their own distinct Islamic coinage, and they would mix Roman Latin symbols with Islamic references. So this coin is extremely significant. And from the very earliest days of Islam, you are talking about a coin, I mean, hardly 100 years. There is an example that I saw that blew my mind. I don't know if I can find it right now, but it's actually minted by someone, Mukhtar, who was a rebel, and he rebelled against the Abbasid Caliphate and carved up an area for himself and decided to mint his own coins. And on eBay, I saw, I can't find it right now, but so, you know, so you're talking about Islamic manuscripts that are, you're talking about copies of the Quran that are irreplaceable, beautiful, gorgeous pieces of art that were written by Muslims that tell us a lot about the influence and the impact of the Quran upon Islamic culture. You are talking about manuscripts from Timbuktu, there are manuscripts from Morocco, there are manuscripts from Egypt, there are manuscripts from Uzbekistan, as we've shown. There's even manuscripts from Saudi, which used to be something not common. There are torn, as you've seen, torn up pages from manuscripts. All you have to do to see for yourself what I'm talking about is go to eBay and enter Arabic manuscript and scroll and see how many they are. And I'll tell you, if I spent, there is no way, I just simply do not have enough money to even cover what is being offered at any one time at eBay. Let me show you. If you go, we go all the way down. See, all of these are manuscripts. As I'm scrolling down with this speed, a lot of them are, by the way, misidentified. Here, this is a manuscript from China, from the Qing dynasty in China. And they come from Sweden because Sweden authenticates these documents quite well. And then dealers, of course, it's taken from various parts of the Muslim world, authenticated in Sweden, and then sold. And you see here copies of a Quran that was owned by Muslims in China, but the pages are all torn up, they're separated. But if I just go on, this is anyway. I want to show you just, if we go all the way down, and I'll try to just ignore, as my eyes are spotting things, and just my heart is bleeding. Because see, look how many. Just look how many. These are all manuscripts. These are all Islamic manuscripts. Right? Just all Islamic manuscripts. This is a manuscript about Islamic geography. Earlier there was a manuscript about surgery, written from the Islamic tradition. Look, this manuscript was being sold for about $3,000 in 2,880, about geography by Ibn al-Wardi. You could tell that the Swedes have done quite a bit of work trying to preserve the pages that have fallen apart. Look at this. The amount of damage to this manuscript. And now, who knows who's going to buy it? Who's going to own this manuscript? And are we ever going to see it again? And who's going to study it? And who's going to analyze it? And what can it tell us about? We make assumptions about what Islamic history is. And we think we know what existed in Islamic history. But the truth of the matter is, we don't. Because the true history is in these manuscripts that no one studies, no one pays attention to, that are being thrown all. Here's a manuscript in Farsi about Islamic philosophy. But even if you just scroll all the way down, all these manuscripts, you see how many? Do you see? And I'll just scroll all the way down. And when I get all the way down, this is just page number 1. 240 items in this single page. That means what? Page number 2 has another 240 items. Page number 3 has another 240 items. Page number 4 has another 240 items. And if I today buy everything, if I somehow, by some miracle, buy everything that is being offered, in 1 week, there will be as many manuscripts being offered again. This is what's happening to our tradition. And I am not here to just whine about it and then go home. What I'm telling you is, help me save as many of these manuscripts. I go through the manuscripts, I spend the time, I identify the most valuable, the most important, and try my best, but it cannot be done unless you help me financially support that effort to save as many Islamic manuscripts as possible. Here's just as I noticed, as I'm just my eyes spotted. This is Mukhtasar al-Wiqaya. Look at the amount of marginalia in this manuscript. This is invaluable. This means this book was used in class after class after class. Look at the amount of marginalia. Look at this. You could spend a lifetime studying this marginalia and understanding how Muslims at that time were thinking, what they were thinking about, the issues they were concerned about, what was discussed in classes. Unbelievable. Anyway, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. This would not happen to any other tradition but the Islamic tradition, because Muslims don't care. And Muslims have betrayed their tradition. Look at what happened. This is a Quran from the Mamluk period. It's been torn to separate pages. This page is being sold separately for $20 from the Mamluk period. The entire Quran is no longer there. Khalas, it's gone. Why? Because the seller finds it far more profitable to sell each page for $20. This is very typical. Anyway, just one final thing. Look at the beauty of this Ottoman Quran. Look at this. Look. Imagine if an Israeli buys, one of these extremist Zionists buys this beautifully illustrated Quran. And who knows if we ever see it again. How many people, look at the love and effort that went into writing this Quran. Look at the amazing beauty and effort in producing this Ottoman Quran has been offered for $4,000. Someone like me can't even think of affording something like this. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. If you can, please help. Help me save as much as can be saved. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.